Welcome to our webinar. So you have or want a CDP, what are you going to do with it? Presented by Apteco at the TFM exhibition 25th of September 2019. We'll take about half an hour of your time just to run through this webinar. So you want or have a CDP, what are you going to do with it? Well, a little bit about Apteco to start with. We are an independent software vendor founded in 1987. We provide the Apteco marketing suite made of three parts: Fast Stats, People Stage and Orbit. That's analytics, campaign automation and sharing. We have hundreds of customer organizations with thousands of users using the Apteco marketing suite. We have 4 offices worldwide based in Warwick in the UK, where we develop the software, and distributors in Frankfurt, Sydney and Rotterdam. We support both business to consumer and business to business data sets and operations, and also not for profit for our charitable clients. A little bit about me. I'm James Alty. I'm Managing Director of Apteco. I'm a technologist at heart, but my role is primarily matching our commercial requirements with our development capacity, so ensuring that the Apteco marketing suite delivers what the marketplace needs. Now, quite a lot of what we're going to cover in the webinar today is research that we collated in our annual trend report. This is a survey of technicians and marketers and Apteco's partners and end users held at our annual Apteco Live user conference in November each year. The research here was collected in November 2018 and collated in early 2019, and we'll refer to it during the webinar, and at the end we have a link for how you can download the trend report yourself. It's a published document. So what is a CDP? You may have heard the new 3-letter acronym bouncing around the industry. Well, a CDP is a customer data platform, and that in turn is a packaged software solution that creates a persistent, unified customer database accessible to other systems. Persistent means we hold on to the identity of the customer long term. As that customer interacts with our brand, we'll keep hold of their identity. Unified means we're bringing together customer data from multiple systems into a single store, into the customer data platform, where we can recognize that customer's interactions across different systems and channels that we support, presented as a database, but importantly made accessible to other systems, typically through an API of some sort that allows programmatic interface to other systems, so those systems can come and get the knowledge about the customer from the CDP platform. And in our research report, we found that about 17% of organizations are currently using a customer data platform. It's a hot topic, but not yet widely deployed. One of the integrations that you'll consider with a CDP is the downstream channels. How do those external systems make use of the CDP data? And what we'll be looking for is connections with the channels that you're using. And in our research, email is still the dominant channel, but it's interesting to see, for example, social just overtaking the traditional direct mail approach, contact centers and other messaging systems taking a rather lower percentage of activity. The important point is your CDP should be driving those channels, making that customer data available to the channels, but also the channels should be feeding the CDP. So knowledge of behavior in different channels for each customer can help refine your activity and communication with each of those customers. So how might you use a CDP? Well, we have 8 different topics that we're going to cover today. The first is targeting and analysis, and it is perhaps the core challenge that we see around a CDP, making decisions about your customers based on insights from your data, making your organization use the data, a data-driven organization, accurately understanding the customers or supporters that you are working with. And the counterpoint to that, we don't want to assume that we know everything about our customers. Clearly, that's probably an unachievable goal. We will only have an approximation of knowing about each of those customers. So how do we undertake targeting analysis, and why might we do so? Well, here's one of our customers, Pro Tyre. It's a tyre replacement business in the UK. and they use the Apteco marketing suite to target the product and channel mix optimized for each individual. And that targeting allows them to send the right message to the right customer at the right time. And some of their business is predictable. It's based on, for example, the safety tests undertaken on the cars, or the projected tyre wear usage, and prototype build models in the Apteco marketing suite to estimate when tyres will need replacing. And as you can see on the right hand side, they achieved a fantastic 746% return on investment. For every pound invested, they're generating nearly £7.50 from the campaigning activity. So targeting in their case allowed them to achieve a fantastic return. And to undertake that type of targeting, we're going to pull together a wide range of data around the customer. From the customer data platform, we're going to pull in the details about those customers, and we can look at topics such as, who are my top customers? Well, you might think that's trivial. It's the people who spend the most, but actually the people who spend the most might be generating the most service. They may be costing you money to provide that service, and so top customers may be different if you look at profitability than if you look at straight revenue, for example. There are different ways you could measure your top customers, and you'll get a richer view as you add more data into your CDP. What is their sentiment? How are they doing? Are they transacting more this year than last year, or are they in decline? Do we see their average order value changing? What is the period between their orders? If it's a repeat order business, can we detect patterns in there? There are lots of different ways that you can analyze transactional data for customers. We can look at, where are the customers? So spatial analysis, looking at the geographic distribution of customers. And all of these techniques need communicating. You have to be able to share your results with your colleagues and your management team, perhaps with your agency, for example. So some form of data storytelling is needed from the analytics that you undertake. And ultimately, if that story is compelling and your marketing team all coordinate, you should be able to use that data to drive campaign targeting. So an end-to-end process that feeds back into the CDP to allow you to understand those customers' behavior from the marketing perspective better, in the same way you can understand their financial behavior or their online behavior through the different types of transactions you record with them. So targeting allows us to understand a bit about our customers. How do we talk to them? Well, personalization might be top of your topics. So, for example, the challenge here is to ensure that you personalize the customer experience. You may have even heard of the phrase CX, customer experience, like UX, user experience in software development. And we don't want to send mass communications. I think we would miss the customer's expectation if they got a simple mass communication from us. So how are organizations using personalization? Well, in our trend report, we found that the percentage of organizations who are using minimal personalization is pretty static. In this case, 31% in both 2017 and 2018 using minimal personalization. But you can see there are other organizations who are moving forward with either personalized content blocks or even hyper personalization, where every aspect of the communication is personalized to the recipient. And that's a challenge. The personalization down to a group of one, targeting to a group of one, fully personalizing every aspect. That's what you might call hyper personalization. And to undertake personalization, there's lots to think about. First of all, we want to ensure that all of our communications are timely and relevant. That will make them of interest. It will protect your brand values, engagement with your customers. And we might do that by recognizing the individuality of the customer. So using the data in our CDP to control all the variants in the copy and the marketing message. So the images that are used, the paragraph content that's used, the headlines that are used, for example. Also going further and personalizing the offer. Think about what's relevant for an individual customer. How can you forecast what is most relevant to them? Use techniques like best next offer or best next time, for example, to choose what to offer to that customer and when to send the message. And you can do that type of analysis, choose the product that's suitable for best next offer, and then decide to operate a campaign to offer that to the customer. We can use their preferences and behavior. So looking at channel choice, how does that customer interact with you? Well, let's interact with them through the same channels. For example, let's make sure that we're speaking back to them in the channel that they use most. And of course, we have the option to use modeling and AI. We'll touch on this a little later in the webinar to cover decisions about how to determine what to send, how to improve the campaigns. And there are different techniques you can use to determine content, for example, or to determine the channels to use. So personalizing all the way through that campaign activity. And that campaign will be one part of a customer journey. That customer journey is to ensure that the customer feels that your organization is speaking to them as a conversation, that they are on a journey with you, that they are engaging and learning about your brand and your products and your services. And so we want to send timely, relevant communications for where an individual is on their journey. And we don't want to send irrelevant communications. Clearly, it would damage our brand and our engagement. So in our research, we found that in 2019, 80% of marketers thought the customer journey was going to be the most important topic. Interestingly, the prior year, as you'd imagine with GDPR, privacy was top topic, but now actually customer journey, customer experience, clear standout topics for marketers to consider, in amongst many other responsibilities they have for the customer. So how do we consider a customer journey? Well, let's think about where they are on their journey. How are they doing with our brand and with the particular purchase or decisions that they're making right now? And that journey is multi-layered. They may be early in their engagement with the brand, but reasonably well advanced on their first product purchase. So we need to look at how we understand their overall position and how we plan marketing for the stage and the segment that we see that customer falls into. Are they a high value customer? Are they a low value customer? We might segment them for different treatments. And then we can implement customer journeys as multi-wave campaigns for the short tactical journey and broader segments and controls for the overall brand engagement. And we can design those journeys as a conversation. Try to make sure it's personal, as if it were a conversation between your organization and each of those individuals. And remember that we need to listen to the channels. We need to see what comes back. When we market to an individual, let's listen, see what comes back. Are they engaged? Did they click? Have they commented? Did they share it? Have they ordered from that campaign or bought that product, for example? And make sure that we have suitable paths for whichever direction the customer wants to go. So if a customer actually has decided not to purchase this product at this stage, but they're happy to stay in touch with the newsletter, let's make sure there's a way for them to do that nice and easily and naturally, and then keep track of where they are in that customer journey. You can use your CDP to determine where you believe this customer is, perhaps by segment and stage, for example. Next one we can think about is omni-channel marketing, and you'll have heard the phrase, the challenge is to ensure that we send our customers consistent messages no matter which channel or touch point they choose to use. So we want to make sure that a customer who's interacting through our app is getting just the same offers and just as good an experience as somebody who's choosing to use our email campaigns and click through to our website, for example. So determining the messages appropriate for the customer and then delivering them through all of the touch points. And for sure, we want to move away from single channel, single step campaigns. We want it all to be rather more pervasive. And to do that, well, in fact, to look at that, we found in our research that 4 out of 10 marketers cited that omni-channel marketing was their key initiative. So you can see we have a slight change over the 2 years that we've shown here, but we can see how the marketers have classified their communication strategy. So 4 out of 10 have said omnichannel is a key initiative, but actually in 2018, about a third of marketers are achieving multi-channel, but only within a single campaign, for example. And then only 14% are achieving omnichannel at this stage. So how might we go about omnichannel? Well, part of the challenge for the marketing team is to design and deliver successful campaigns that really allow for all those touch points. And that means there's work to do. You might have variants of the marketing content sized and scaled appropriate to the different channels. So what you can put into an app will be different from what you put in the body of an email, will be different from what you say over the phone, for example, if someone contacts the contact center. So lots of work to do, but essentially you can boil it down to separating the stages. So we're going to separate determining who is going to receive a marketing communication. It might be triggered by the behavior of the customer. It might be scheduled as part of your routine communications. We're going to separate out the decision of what content we're going to send to that individual, as I say, customized, appropriate for the scale and format of the channel, for example. Importantly, we're keeping separate the decision of how we send that message. So having targeted a customer, determined what messaging we want to send them, we now decide separately how we're going to send that. Perhaps we'll use the channel that they've interacted with most frequently, or we'll use the channel that they've given us the most explicit opt-in, for example, the biggest permissions to use. And we're going to integrate those so that we can measure the results coming back and add to our understanding of that customer, update our details in the CDP, keep track of the marketing in the omnichannel campaign in order to do a better job next time and see if we can generate higher engagement with those customers. Our fifth topic is segmentation. This is the challenge of understanding the personas in your customer group so that we can tailor campaigns for them. If we can divide up or segment our customers into different groups, we can treat them appropriately. And we certainly don't want to treat all our customers as if they were uniform, as if they're all in one basket, for example. Let's actually do them separate treatments according to the segments that they fall into. And what we found in a case study here with Everton Football Club was increased retention and a high proportion of high-risk customers renewed. In this case, selling season tickets for Goodison Park, their stadium, and it allowed the football club, Everton, to understand which customers were in a highly loyal long-term segment and treat them differently from those supporters who were in younger, less committed, perhaps less able to afford the ticket prices. So differences were used for handling the marketing treatment, the frequency of communication, and how much effort was put into chasing for renewal of season tickets, depending on the segment that was used. And as you can see, understanding the supporters better, so a targeting and analysis output was the ability to introduce new pricing models to help younger fans as they grow their lifetime commitment to Everton Football Club. So what might you do for segmenting your customers? Well, we can use our CDP to create aggregations and indicators, which in turn can then be used with modeling techniques such as decision trees or clustering to create groups and scores and measures that can then be used to look at how can those form segments and look at how people are changing through their segment membership over time. So is a supporter or a family or a business moving up in your segment schema, or are they moving down as their behavior changes? You can describe your segments so that you can share them with your colleagues, quite possibly using infographics to make it easy to comprehend, and then prepare specific marketing content for each of the segments. So you're going to treat a younger customer differently than an older loyal customer, for example, and deploy that content into your downstream channels, and then use control groups, of course, as every good marketer knows, to measure the effect of your marketing. If you can measure the lift above the control group, you can show the effect that your marketing spend has had. So preparing data to create segments, to track those segments as they change over time, as you measure people's behavior or the customer's behavior financially or online or in response to marketing, allows you then to detect people who are migrating from one segment to another. And that's a significant marketing moment. You might be able to choose to do marketing specific when you detect someone has moved into a new segment. Our sixth of 8 areas is predictive analysis and AI. The challenge is to understand more, to predict more, to forecast the behavior of your customers. And of course, we're aiming to avoid sending offers to customers that they're never likely to need or to want. So how much is AI contributing? Well, in our research, we found about 1/3 of organizations haven't started on AI. About 1/3 have found it's not contributing at all. About 1/3 have found it works in limited areas, and just 8% have so far managed to make machine learning and AI really contribute to their marketing. But it's a great ambition. Let's see if we can help more organizations get into that group. So what might you do to use predictive analysis and AI? Well, you might use it for selecting content or making product recommendations, for example. You might use it to optimize when you send a campaign. So when do you choose to interact with a customer? You might use it to help you build segments, so you determine how to split up your target group. You might use it to optimize which channel you send. I mentioned earlier trying to respond on the channel that's most suitable for a customer. Let's use a bit of AI or machine learning to try to optimize that. We might use it for targeting adverts or programmatic display, for example. We might even aspire to get as far as automatic creation of campaigns. So can you let your automated systems and your AI create campaigns for you? Well, perhaps you could if you have some template campaigns and you have some product launch sequence, and you know the characteristics of the products, and you can start learning from previous. Maybe you could just automate the creation of those campaigns. Maybe you stay a bit simpler and look at personalized pricing based on learning from previous transactions, or perhaps the classic use, something like a chatbot, where an algorithm or an AI is helping on customer service and interaction and escalating where necessary to human interaction from the customer service team. So lots of opportunities. Next one is automation. There are lots of lovely opportunities to improve marketing efficiency with automation, and ideally we want fully automated event-driven campaigns that react to customer interaction and inaction to communicate the organization's message. We don't want marketers tied up trying to do that by hand all of the time. So we don't want manual, time-consuming work. And here's an example from one of our customers, the NEC Group, who freed up 15% of their CRM team's time by using the Apteco marketing suite, by designing customer journeys for the artists that were booked into the venue. The NEC Group is a venue. Then they could automate the communication, and by using scoring for each customer, they're able to fully personalize the newsletter content that they're sending and the ticket launch activity that they undertake. So saving time is a matter of getting the right message in front of the right customer at the right time automatically, so that our customers benefit. And here's some example campaigns that you might want to think about automating for your organization. Very obvious one, widely discussed, using a shopping basket or shopping cart abandonment. So an e-commerce site where a transaction has been started but not completed. Let's go and follow up. Another one, you're perhaps personally already benefited from a birthday mailing. Leisure business might offer you a voucher for some benefit on their site or in their restaurant for your birthday. So bring your group, and of course they get the benefit of the party, you get the benefit of the gift. We can do welcome messages automatically when someone achieves something, signs up for something, registers, attends or visits in some way, send them a message to welcome that behaviour. We can cross and upsell, so on one transaction, have a look and see what else we could promote by cross or upselling. What about churn prevention? Have you looked at which of your customers are declining in value, declining in frequency, less likely to retain with you? How about stepping in with an automatic campaign to offer them better engagement? Best next offer, we touched on it earlier, the idea of thinking and analysing to find what is the best product to offer to each customer. Have that ready on your CDP so that at the point of interaction in store, at the point of sale, or through an app or on the website, that customer will be prompted with the offer you think is best suited to them based on their previous purchases, your pattern of purchases across your whole store, and perhaps your seasonality and stock availability, for example. What about planned purchase? What about something that needs renewing? You've got a policy of some sort, it renews annually. Well, we can have a program around that, automating the communication. What about triggering based on the weather? The Internet of Things tells us all sorts of sensors are available. Use them, trigger events, and make offers based on the fact it's got warm or it's got cold, or look at regional events. There's a big news, can you pick up something in a region that you're then going to use? And finally, look at reactivating inactive customers. Just have an automatic campaign working there, staying in touch, keeping those inactive customers engaged with your brand. Our final topic is optimization, and this is facing the challenge of optimizing how and when to communicate with each customer to achieve the maximum and best possible engagement. We don't want to send campaigns when we decide is appropriate. We don't want to just press go and broadcast when it's appropriate for our business. We may have customers at different journeys who have different segments, who are at different time zones or geography. Let's actually optimize how we're going to send with them. And in our research, about 70% of respondents felt optimizing would add value to their marketing. And you can see that there are several topics. It could be building segments or selecting content or optimizing the send time or optimizing the channel, all broadly around the 70% figure of optimization adding to the marketer's activity. So how might you optimize campaigns? Well, we're going to look at the priorities of campaigns, which are most important, and the individual preferences. So you could imagine creating multiple customer journey campaigns, have those set up. Those are your organization's conversations ready to have with anyone who's ready to participate. Design each of those journeys to have the best effect for the customers at that stage of that journey. So think about the messaging, think about the personalization chances, and then use optimization to choose the most appropriate journey for each recipient. So there might be 15 journeys available for every recipient, every customer on your CDP. Choose the most appropriate journey for each of them. And where necessary, reserve recipients who will not get other marketing treatment today or tomorrow or this week because you're reserving them in some way for other interactions down the line with your brand, keeping that value in their engagement with you. So we've seen that using a CDP can be simple and effective. It allows us to use our corporate memory, so all of our database systems, all of our processing systems, to understand the customer behavior. Bring all of that together in your CDP. Remember that unified, persistent view of data that is accessible to other systems. Use that in your CDP to improve your organization's abilities. Use all of that data to drive your marketing, whether it's targeting and analysis or personalization or customer journeys. Use that to drive your marketing activity, and make sure you integrate that customer identity with all of the data. So whether it's first-party data, that's data that you've collected, second-party data, which is data other people have collected around their customers, or third-party data where you're enriching your customer data. Make sure all of that is pulled together, and then use the CDP's ability to aggregate and score and model that customer and transactional data to give you the best view of all of that information. Use that integrated with your downstream channels, so you're listening as well as communicating, you're receiving results back, and automate every part that you possibly can so that you have the maximum time in your marketing team to improve the marketing machinery, to make a better job for your organization communicating with your customers. And of course, you must use control groups to allow you to accurately measure the uplift achieved by your marketing activity. So if you want to know more about some of the research topics that I've mentioned in this webinar, just contact Apteco and we'll provide you the link to the Apteco trend report, and I hope it will provide interesting reading for you. Thank you for stopping and listening. I hope that's been an interesting introduction to customer data platforms and what you might undertake with them. That's the end of the webinar.